Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Lady Bitter's Astrology and Tarot. Thanks again for stopping by for another episode of the Bitter Truth Weekly Forecast. Before we get started with that, I just want to make sure that we know exactly what kind of astrology I'm following, so we're all on the same page. I do tropical Western astrology, so we follow the equinoxes and the solstices of every year, instead of the constellations. But basically what the Bitter Truth Weekly Forecast is going to be is just my interpretations, my thoughts, my opinions on where the current planets are placed in the sky and how best we can use those energies moving forward. So, with that being said, let's get started with this week. This week is going to be April 11th through April 17th of 2022. And essentially, I like to start these off with talking about the lunar phase of the week. So, we're going to actually have a full moon this week, towards the end, I think on Saturday. We'll have a full moon in Libra. I call this phase the phase of realizations. So, whereas the new moon was the intention phase when we were setting intentions, setting goals, opening ourselves up to a new cycle, we have now reached basically the halfway point of the lunar cycle at the full moon. So our questions are going to be answered, things are going to come to light that we weren't seeing before, we're going to have certain insights, and essentially it's the height of the lunar cycle. So again, things are going to be made visible that we weren't paying attention to before. We're going to have certain realizations that kind of help us moving forward, help us see what we have accomplished so far in the last 2 weeks and where we need to go for the next 2 weeks until the new cycle. Having said that, this week, also Saturday, the full moon, it's also going to begin an eclipse season. I like to see the eclipse seasons as 2 weeks before the first eclipse and 2 weeks after the second eclipse. So we're going to have a solar eclipse in Taurus. That's going to happen on the 30th of April. And then on May 15th, we're going to have the following lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So the whole season, though, is going to be from April 16th until May 29th. And we'll talk more about eclipses as we go along. But essentially, it's a very hectic time, a very life-changing time. Just events can happen that are really poignant and important and like markers of the year, markers of certain changes. And this year is going to be another intense year at the eclipses, but the season, we're going to start feeling these energies around Saturday. They're going to begin on Saturday and last for around 2 weeks until that first solar eclipse. Okay, so now let's focus on this week and let's talk about what I think are going to be the most important transits of this week. For starters, we're going to have Mercury enter into the sign of Taurus. It's going to be one of the first planets besides Uranus to enter Taurus this year. What I think about this, let's start off with what Mercury in Aries was like. So Mercury in Aries, like I described last week, it was very much about a sense of clarity, mental clarity, a sense of directness in our communications, kind of getting the ball rolling, getting some movement, getting some action in our lives, starting things, starting to learn new skill sets, even starting to learn new information, and being a little bit more action oriented, right? When Mercury moves into Taurus, this is going to give us a chance to slow our mental processing down, ground ourselves, and instead of inviting in a bunch of new things, now we're going to kind of work with what we have. So we had a burst of insight, we had a burst of ideas, we started something. Now it's about, okay, how can we simplify all of these ideas and thoughts and plans that we might have made? How can we simplify them so that they are sustainable, so we can keep up with it, we can maintain it, and we don't lose that motivation, we don't lose that steam. Mercury in Taurus is very good at being practical, very good at being realistic with our time, how much time we might need, how much time we have left, that kind of thing. It doesn't overcomplicate things. This will also be a good time to have a lot more patience with our minds, a lot more patience with other people when we're communicating to them, and basically making the time for the amount of work that we have, the amount of effort that we have to put into something. Mercury in Taurus is going to help us be patient with that and allow us to focus on things that we can control. So, again, simplifying is important with Taurus. It's very much like, okay, what can I control and what can I prioritize on my own time and on my own dollar and, in my own ways to sustain and maintain and keep moving forward. Another thing that's happening this week, we've got Mars in Pisces. Mars will move into Pisces on April 14th. Mars will kind of be here for quite a while. It's not going to move out of Pisces until May 23rd. So we have at least a month, right? A month and a half to deal with this energy. So Mars is our sense of personal motivation, agency, aggression, assertiveness, all these things. And Pisces is the sign, it's a mutable water sign. So it's adaptable, it's flexible. And water is emotions, psychology, spirituality, intuition, sentimentality, meaning, applying meaning to things. So when we have Mars in Pisces, it's going to kind of, it can work out in a couple different ways. I feel like certainly it can feel a little bit depleting and a little bit defeating because Pisces is again a mutable water sign. So very different from Aries, which is the natural placement for Mars. It's not action oriented, it's not direct, it's very indirect. It can be very passive, it can be easily discouraged almost. Like our actions are almost like ineffective. So I think that the best way to utilize this Mars in Pisces then is that there's another side to it where our motivation becomes more based in a sense of there has to be more than this. There has to be something beyond what we are dealing with. There has to be something more than what the people around us are telling us is possible, or, there has to be more than just all of this realistic stuff. So it's interesting that, Mercury will move into Taurus the same time that Mars will move into Pisces. So there's going to be this kind of back and forth between wanting to stay grounded and stay practical and stay simplistic, but also really needing to reach out for something beyond the everyday, beyond the ordinary. Because Pisces really needs to escape suffering, is what Pisces is about. And we can do that in unhealthy ways or we can do that in healthy ways. And so with Mars and Pisces, we're very much driven then to find some type of escape, find some type of break, find some type of thing that is beyond what we are dealing with now to give us that sense of space and room and away from being like bogged down. It's very important. Fantasy, fiction, art, all these things are very important in order to survive. If you get too bogged down and you get too brittle, you break. So Pisces, that energy is very much about making sure that we don't get too brittle, that we don't limit ourselves too much, and that we don't get too cold and frozen. And we can do that through healthy escape, film, art, certain kinds of drugs, right? Relaxing, and just kind of replenishing our souls. Again, with all of this Pisces energy, we're going to continue to feel this sense of there are no rules. There's nothing left that's guiding us, that's telling us what to do. So it's kind of up to us. And with Mars and Pisces, that's very much being motivated by a sense of imagination and visualization. And with Venus being there, Jupiter there, Neptune there, there's a quite a few planets in Pisces right now. That's helping us. It's trying to help us rely on our sense of hope and imagination again. This is about thinking up stuff that you quite frankly didn't have time to even think about before. And so this kind of chaos and lack of rules, lack of structure is giving us more time to focus inwardly. And again, imagine, visualize, how can things go beyond this? How can things be better than this in a way that like we didn't think was possible before. But of course, the other side of this, Mars in Pisces, is going to, again, there's going to be a lot of chaos. Pisces brings chaos, Pisces brings confusion, uncertainty, and it brings a sense of Pisces manipulates, right? Pisces makes us susceptible to manipulation. And because so many things are being overlooked, like I've mentioned before, it makes us susceptible and vulnerable to being taken advantage of. So with Mars and Pisces, there could be that. Again, Mars is very aggressive. So if we are backed into a corner, Mars and Pisces can sometimes be like fibbers, like they make up this elaborate reason why it's not actually their fault or why it's not actually going down that way. Or so there could be a lot of that happening. Okay. Finally, I want to mention, well, not finally, but I want to start talking about this full moon in Libra happening, because I think it's going to be a little, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to full moon in Libra. I'm just not. It's going to happen April 16th, 2022. I don't recall what time it's happening. But essentially, a full moon happens around 6 months after the, I guess I could say, corresponding new moon. So the new moon in Libra, which happened 6 months ago, probably in September, I think, of 2021, it's now been 6 months since then. And now we're seeing whatever we started, whatever we intended to begin, whatever opening there was back in September, we're now seeing kind of how that's manifested in our lives, how that's affected us, and what's come from it. So, Aries and Libra are basically the axis of respect, Aries being self-respect, Libra being respect for others. And so both of these signs are very competitive, and they're both very much about human rights, the right to exist, the right to take up space, and how we go about defending that. Aries, of course, is a lot more aggressive and direct and kind of challenging. It either tries to overcome and defeat its opponent, or it challenges its opponent to like test it, Libra is an air sign, so it's much more considerate. It's much more about, well, let's talk things out. Let's discuss both sides and see what we can agree on, what we can disagree on, and where we can go from there. But it's still very competitive. It's still very much about winning and getting what it wants, actually. Because Libra, healthy Libra, does in fact respect itself as well as others. However, this axis is receiving a square from Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is the planet of primal human emotion that has to do with fear, abandonment, rejection, violation, power, and then also being powerless, and essentially the awareness of almost the depravity of human nature. So it's awareness of the heights and also the depths of human nature, the darkness as well as the light of human motivations and human psychology, all of that, right? So with this energy being square to this lunation, I think that it's going to be revealing some not so pleasant things, either about ourselves or about the world that we live in, right? And in Capricorn, it's going to have a lot to do with government, authority, structures, establishments, what we have believed in the past were markers of success. Capricorn is a lot about history and traditions. I don't know if I already said that, but yeah. So, like I said, Libra is a very considerate sign. It considers all points so that it can make a well thought out, intelligent decision. What I think this might look like. It could look like, what does it take to get along or find some kind of compromise with people or systems or environments that have abused us, that have oppressed us, that have enforced very strict and judgmental limitations on us. That's Capricorn. What does it take to get along with them and with these things and compromise or mentally resolve and reconcile with these things for our own sake? What does that take? Also, like I said, Pluto rules over our very human primal fears and therefore compulsions. It's the stuff that we don't want everyone to see because it's traumatic, it's painful, it's shameful. Pluto is very much about shame. But all these things are going to come to light anyway for us to think about, analyze, consider. Again, Libra, rationalize even. This could also look like Pluto has been going through Capricorn since 2008. So this can look like a time where we are thinking about how our lives have been destroyed and rebuilt since 2008. What has happened? What systems and establishments and traditions have we left? What things about our history, but also the history of the countries and the places that we live in, what's come out that has changed our perspective, that's changed our lifestyle and what we believe in, what we trust even. These things are going to be coming up. Yeah, so this will also be about confronting our own dark side, our own shameful behavior, as well as other people in our lives, as well as the country we live in, other communities, groups, or organizations that we have been involved in, establishments. What's the dark side of all that? That's going to be coming up. How this full moon is going to be interacting with the Pisces energy is very much like, I think the best way to use this is to start giving yourself the space and the room to have no idea what to do next. Start accepting that as a world, many people have no idea what to do next. We're all grasping at straws. There is no rule book. And there's going to be some people that want to go back to normal. Fine. But for the majority of us, we do not want to be relying on the same structures and rules and judgments that we've placed on ourselves and other people have placed on us. We don't want to rely on those things anymore, but we don't necessarily know what to do next. And all this Pisces energy is kind of making it so beyond our scope that the only thing left to do is just surrender to that. And again, go into the Taurus skill set of simplifying and tending to your own garden over trying to make sense of a world right now that doesn't make any sense. That's why Pisces is telling us, utilize your imagination, utilize your belief in a higher power, lean on your sense of wonder and sense of possibilities. Lean on your trust in yourself and your trust in your relationship to time passing. Pisces, Neptune, Jupiter, these are all things that rule over unexplainable, intangible experiences and events. They're not logical, they're not realistic, they're unexplainable. And we're going to be experiencing a lot of that, just things that go so beyond what we are familiar with, what we are capable of understanding as individuals. And there's going to have to be some kind of difficult acceptance of that. Not accepting, not then having the opinion that everything that's going on right now is correct and supposed to happen. More so just the acceptance that it is happening and that we may not understand fully what's going on until much, much later. And that there has to be a surrender to that in some way. That's what I see with this full moon. Now, I think that, like all things, some things work out pretty terribly for some people, whereas other people, like, miracles happen. Pisces, Neptune, Jupiter, this kind of symbolism, this can definitely be talking about miracles. Again, unexplainable events, but positive ones, where just things just really start working out for you. and you know, there's certain gifts that come along your way. Life starts moving up, and you can't even explain that. Like, why am I getting these opportunities? Why is everything so chill right now? Why is everything okay when clearly the rest of the world is like going through something? So that can happen too, where it almost feels like a magical time for you, where things are like you're really starting new. Like you really have gone through the renewal period and now you're ready to embark on a new thing. That could also be happening for you. Finally, the end of the week, we're going to have Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus. think I think that this is gonna have a lot to do with, okay, it's gonna have a lot to do with radical thought, innovative thought, disruptive ideas, thoughts, disruptive information, disturbing, uncomfortable, shocking information coming out. But also, it's going to give us in our personal lives the ability to have autonomy over our mentalities, our ideas, our thoughts, our way of communicating. It's going to be very much a decision based transit where we are finally liberating ourselves from restrictive mindsets, restrictive information, restrictive communication styles, even how we communicate to people and how we let people talk to us, that kind of thing. Uranus is a very rebellious planet. It's not going to let us be complacent. It doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow for stability. It doesn't allow for complacency. If Uranus gets bored, guess what? We're going to get disturbed. We're going to get disrupted. We're going to get shaken off our feet so that we can change, we can learn, we can grow. With Mercury coming together with this planet, Mercury rules our information, data processing, communication, that kind of thing. So there might be, again, shocking information coming out that rocks our world. That could happen. But it could also be very much about people are going to decide, make certain decisions that are not at all going to be widely acceptable. Because Uranus doesn't do that. Uranus doesn't do social approval. Uranus, in fact, prefers to instigate and antagonize the status quo. So we're going to see, again, the conjunction, like I talk about, when planets conjunct, it's a renewal period. They are wiping away the past cycle together, and they're starting anew together. They're renewing their vows. So Mercury and Uranus are currently renewing their vows this week. And so what that means, I think, is that, yeah, people are going to be making life-altering decisions where they're breaking away from something. And again, simplifying their lives, Taurus, to cater to their own needs, tend to their own garden, as I have explained. So we can expect that. Okay, so I know this was a bit of a shorter video. Honestly, the Mars and Saturn energy has made me very tired this week. So, anyway. But I still want to get the video out because I want to keep working on this project. But let's get into the daily highlights. So Monday the 11th, that's when we're going to see Mercury. Mercury will go into Taurus like Sunday night, but it'll basically, the first day of Mercury in Taurus will be Monday. Tuesday, April 12th, we're actually going to see the Sun form a sextile to Saturn. Saturn will be in Aquarius, the Sun will be in Aries. So sextiles I think of as basically just like a toolkit. So if you want to move forward, you can use the tools of Sun and Saturn to help us grow, or help us move forward. It's a very activating aspect. And so Saturn, again, discipline, responsibility. In Aquarius, it's about actualizing our most aspirational selves and futures. The Sun gives us confidence. It gives us pride, hopefully a healthy sense of pride, confidence, and expression. So it gives us vitality. So the Sun sextile Saturn can really help us feel strong enough, alive enough to take on responsibilities and to push ourselves forward in that way. Wednesday, April 13th, we're going to have Venus-Mercury sextile. So another sextile, And basically, Venus and Mercury are going to be sextiling each other this whole week. It's really going to be a week-long theme. Venus will be in Pisces still. Mercury will be in Taurus. So the similarities between these two signs are how they help each other, right? Again, Pisces sees the dream, sees the ideal, sees the possibility, and Taurus is able to break it down and understand what each step needs to actually like make this dream happen. It's earth and water working together, right? Another side of this is that Taurus and Pisces both benefit from having a very solid inner world where there is peace, where there is serenity, where there is calm, and where there is some type of security and stability and like softness and protection even. So Venus is a relationship planet, but it's also an evaluation planet. So it helps us prioritize, make sure that we are focusing on it makes sure that we are focusing currently on what parts of our lives are giving us the most value, right? So if it's in Pisces, it's about prioritizing healing, prioritizing recovery, prioritizing rehydrating, prioritizing again dreaming, both in your sleep and in waking life, and having hope. Mercury in Taurus is helping us then again bring things down, ground things, and make sure that we are not driving ourselves crazy with worry and stress and anxiety and all these things. It's about being grounded, focusing on what we can control, focusing on real, tangible parts of our lives. And again, I know I'm annoying, simplifying. This is going to be an energy to utilize all week. Thursday, April 14th, is when Mars will enter Pisces, and we'll start seeing that symbolism come up a lot more. The 15th, on Friday, we're going to see a Moon Chiron opposition. So this will be when the Moon first enters Libra, and it'll oppose Chiron. Chiron in the air right now is in Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron, I feel like, is representative of human frailty, insecurities, vulnerabilities, and an acceptance of mortality. It's very much where we feel weak, where we feel like losers, where we feel like we really just don't have it. We don't have the thing that we need to be on top, to be the winner, to be the boss, to be in power. And it feels very much like there's no way we can get there. Something about our lives, our experience, our physical form makes it so that we will never have the strength or the resource to be on top in this way. And so what Chiron helps us do is find acceptance in that, and helps us then become extremely more compassionate towards just being a human, and that it doesn't make any sense to put this pressure on people and ourselves to be superhuman. And Chiron is very much the asteroid that reminds us that, like, yeah, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna get hurt, like, we're not impenetrable, we're not, walking around in we're not immortal, is what Chiron reminds us. So when we have a Moon Chiron opposition, those themes kind of come up for us. And Chiron in Aries is very much about our identity, taking up space, existing, standing up for ourselves, standing up for our rights. And sometimes Chiron in Aries can have a difficult time feeling like they can. Chiron in Aries can be guilty about standing up for its rights. And it can easily feel like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I don't actually deserve this. Maybe I don't deserve to take up this space. Maybe I don't deserve to get these needs met. And so we can be feeling with a Moon opposition that can just hit us very personally that day. And it can, I would suggest, again, going into the Pisces area of your chart, going into the Taurus area of your chart, and really considering what I've been saying, this whole video about those two signs. Finally, on Saturday, April 16th, that will be the full moon in Libra. And then Sunday is when Mercury will conjoin with Uranus, or begin its conjunction with Uranus and Taurus. And that's pretty much the week. It's not the most transit heavy week, but there's still some things going on. We've got a couple planets moving into different signs, so that brings in new energy, a new focus. I think the full moon is going to be very impactful for a lot of people with that square to Pluto. It's not just going to be a silly, frilly full moon. It's going to be, some shit's going to go down or come to light. But yeah, all in all, those are my thoughts on this coming week. So thank you for watching the video. Thank you for dealing with my dreary, very tired self. Thank you for watching anyway. I hope you learned some things from this episode. And yeah, I hope this week treats you well. But in the meantime, I do offer readings on my website, ladybittersastrology.com. If you want to just understand kind of my approach to astrology or learn more about me, then I offer a free 20-minute Zoom call that we can just kind of talk some things out, get to know each other, yada yada. Yeah. So, thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next week.